MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, checking on Kentucky following a 10-3 top 10 finish, of course, in 2019. 2018, of course, we're talking 2019 right here with Kevin McGuffey from Last Word on College Football. Please help us build the channel by grabbing the Amazon link in the description section right below me. And you can help us build the channel by just doing your regular Amazon shopping, just using that link. That's all there is to it. You don't do anything different. Just use that link. Also, we've got a Voice of College Football community that you can join and talk directly with me. Also, an exclusive live stream every week there where I respond to your viewer comments, which are well over 42,000 for this year right now. So thank you so much for the response. We're looking at the Cats for 2020. And this is the plight of teams in the SEC that are not named Alabama, Georgia, LSU, is that right now, according to the 247 composite, Kevin, Kentucky is ranked 22nd in the nation, 10th in the SEC, and it'll probably hold about right there. There's a lot of work to do, obviously, and you got to get these kids signed. They're just 13 commits at this point. They can always flip, but that's pretty much what Mark Stoops has done in recent years as he's built this program by bringing in top 25 recruiting classes. But in the SEC, that's not necessarily, well, on paper good enough unless you develop them, which he's been able to do to raise this program, as we just talked about, from 5 wins to 10 in a few years.
Oh, yeah, you're exactly right. Excuse me, the class, talking about this year's the incoming class, as you said right now, I think is 26 by 247. They're 21st, 21st by rivals. And, as we're talking right now, they've only signed 13. They've only signed 13 players for next year, and they could be getting another one as we're talking. Richie Leonard, who's an offensive lineman out of Florida, who originally committed to Kentucky and then decommitted, and then took several visits. Excuse me. Is supposed to announce sometime this afternoon as we're talking whether or not he's going to come, return to Kentucky. He's an offensive lineman out of Florida, and his top two, it's supposed, everyone I've heard, it says it's down to Kentucky and Florida. So we'll see, we'll see what happens. And as you said, they have 13 commitments right now. This class is not going to be very big due to the sheer lack of upperclassmen. Coach Stoops and his ace recruiter Vince Marrow have said that they're maybe looking at maybe 18 players in the class max. And like I said, right now to have 13 commitments and be ranked 21st by rivals, and I think they're 10th. I think it's 10th in the SEC, which is about where on somewhere some years Kentucky. They've been as high as 9th under Stoops, and they've been down to like 12th or 13th. I think they're 10th right now, if I'm not mistaken, at least by rivals. And it's just been, it's been very, as the program has grown, they pitched the idea, help us grow this program. Now it's, help us maintain it. And I think obviously you see, what happened last year with Benny Snell and Josh Allen. Players have seen what happened, especially with Allen, and they say, hey, I can come here and I can be the next, I could be the next Josh Allen. That could be me, going in the first round, going in the first round, in the draft in 3 years. And that's, it's what, John Calipari, use a basketball analogy, it says basically you come here, we get you, ready for the NBA better than anyone. Some may say, Mike Krzyzewski at Duke, but still, but they're preaching that thing, like, help us, build this program, and we're going to do great things. And, if you come here and, you can be, like I said, you be the next Josh Allen, you can be the next, Benny Snell, you just never know. But like I said, there's going to be a very, not as big a class as they've had in the past. So, if they get Leonard today, that'll be 14, 14. So then of course the class, I think I've talked about Justin Rogers before. He's a defensive tackle out of Michigan. He's basically the highest rated recruit ever at Kentucky, and he's first 5-star Landon Young, offensive lineman from a hometown kid from Lafayette. In 2016, I believe 2016 or 2017 was a 5-star, but he's he's ranked he was ranked like the 13th or 14th best player in the country, and to get him out of the state of Michigan was just a huge recruiting victory. And then the Cats have picked up, they've been on a roll. Stoops and Marrow, they have the they started the Yahtzee thing, whenever they get a commitment, because you'll see if they think something's about to happen, you'll see Vince Marrow or Coach Stoops, toss, tweet out something, get those about ready to get those dice hot or something like that, and then maybe a couple hours later you see, another commitment. But, they've really, they've been just racking them up. You go back, if you look at the commitment list since Justin Rogers committed on May 20th, and they picked up, let's see, what is it, eight more guys since then. They got 2 in the same day on Monday. They got Khalil Branham, who's a wide receiver, 3-star. Some people have him as a 4-star, out of Columbus, Ohio. I think Ohio State had some interest in him. But he committed to the Cats. Then about 4 hours later, Samuel Anale, I think that's how you pronounce it. If not, I apologize. Who's another 4-star player? I think top 100 player by Rivals, a defensive end out of Miami. He's that guy. Basically, you come in and say, hey, I could be I could be Josh Allen in 3 years from now. I could be that number 1 draft pick. I can be that guy. Like I said, they've just they've been on a roll. They've got 4 recruits. 2 weekends ago they got 4 recruits. Isaiah Cummings, Ernest Sanders, Joshua Jones, and Jordan Watkins. One guy from Louisville, 2 guys from Louisville. Last year they hit Louisville really, really hard. Got Jared Casey and J.J. Weaver out of Louisville are 2 of the best players in the state, and then Cummings and Watkins are 2 of the best players in the state this year. Beating out Louisville and some of those other schools for those guys have been really. They need to keep on doing that. And then the other guys, Ernest Sanders, who's a wide receiver out of Michigan, and then Joshua Jones, who's another lineman out of Phoenix City, Alabama. Those are all guys who they think, can come in and, in a year or so and really do some good things, especially now with the, the rules where you can play 4 games in the season and not burn a year of eligibility, which, I think that's one of the best. For me personally, I think it's one of the best rules that the NCAA. I'm saying something positive about the NCAA, I know, but they've passed in a long time, and I think the coaches like it because you really, you get to see what those players can do in a game situation. And like I said, we'll see what happens with Leonard today. Some people think he's coming back to Kentucky, so others say he's going to Florida. So, like I said, that's 14. If he signs, it'll be 14. And like I said, I don't think they're going to take a whole lot more than that, just to the sheer lack of upperclassmen this class has next year, which, as we mentioned earlier, another reason why I think 2020 could be another really, really big year, another really, really big year for Kentucky football.
From a ranking standpoint, as you mentioned, Justin Rogers is the headliner. He's the number 1 rated guard in the country.
Right.
As you mentioned as well. And Ayla, I will say, I believe he decommitted this week because I cover a lot of Miami football from the Hurricanes. He's from Carroll City, Florida, so that's a big get. He's a top 10 player at his position, defensive end.
Yeah, he decommitted from Miami and then committed to Kentucky the next day is what happened there, I think. So like June 30th or 29th, he decommitted from Miami and then signed with then committed to Kentucky the next day on July 1st. So yeah, I know you have you got a ton of Miami content, a lot of Miami followers. I'm sure they're not real happy about that one, but it's the nature of the thing. And as you said, it's great to get these commitments, but it's a long way to December.
Kevin, as we've talked about, we need to get our Kentucky fans here as well.
I know. I'm trying. I really am. I know they're out there. We just, especially usually it's like, well, we're all worried about basketball, but now it's, the program is where it is right now, and there's a lot of interest. So we're, doing everything I can to try to get, some more UK people coming your way. So.
Oh, I always appreciate that. I always figure, regardless of the state of the program, if you're playing Power 5 football, especially in the SEC, and even in a bad season, you got 60,000 people in the seats, and you've got several million people watching your games on TV. Somebody's interested.
Oh, yeah.
So the other thing that we've talked about in the past concerning the recruiting, Kevin, and Justin Rogers is a prime example, maybe the classic example of this, is the Mark Stoops approach working, and so he's staying with it. Texas Texas A&M, and Missouri would be the outliers in the SEC. And for those of you young fans I still consider them the new portion of the SEC, even though it's been 7 years. So they've got a different recruiting print. But the rest of the SEC, basically deep south. But Kentucky, Mark Stoops. So this would make, out of those 13 commits for 2020, 9 in Kentucky or North, meaning right. Ohio and Michigan. And that's proven successful in the past. Why fight the South Carolinas, Tennessees, Georgias for all the talent below you when you can pluck the best talent out of a couple, especially Ohio, a huge recruiting state that's one of the top 5 to 8 in the nation in players every year?
Oh, you're exactly right. Stoops, Mark Stoops is from Youngstown, Ohio. Vince Marrow, Ohio. That's, excuse me, that's they as you said, they set off to those are those areas that they really want to hit. They've also hit Florida really hard and, and Georgia in the past. But like I said, Ohio, as you said, Ohio is one of the best, states in the country for talent. And then, Steve Clinkscale, who's the defensive backs coach, I think is actually the one who, recruited Rogers. He's got a couple, McCall from, last year's class is, or previous class is also from Michigan. And, that's another area they've started branching out, but, like you said, they have a system and it's been working. So you don't want to, don't want to mess with it right now. So it's really, like I said, it's impressive from what I remember, Kentucky, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, hey, we got a 3-star recruit. It's like, yay, it's pretty exciting. You're fighting off Kentucky. You go back and look like, you could go like through Rivals or 247, go through some of those old recruiting classes and you see, some of the players they signed and who they were up against. It's like they were fighting the MAC schools or the Sun Belt or, and like I said, and the flip side of that is when you're going up against these bigger schools, occasionally, it's going to happen. They're going to flip guys and they're going to, we'll see, Rogers is a prime example, Alabama, after he committed to Kentucky, Rogers, Nick Saban, and, all of a sudden they started hearing from them. And then, there was a lot of talk that he may flip to Alabama, but he came back, a few weeks ago and said, no, I'm 100% committed to Kentucky. And so, we'll see. Like I said, you still have the ones that are the naysayers or the wait and see crowd, so, well, you got to wait till, December 19th or 20th, whatever the date is this year. It's like I'll get excited when I see their name on the dotted line or whatever. So, but yeah, I just said they found something that works, and you find something that works, keep doing it until, like was it Yogi Berra? If it ain't broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or something like that. So it's working and it's paying off, huge dividends right now.
Yeah, I did a quick scan, and as recent as 2010, you had a recruiting class at number 50 in the nation. You only had 1 4-star, a glut of 3 stars, but in 26 signees, you had a bunch of 2 stars as well.
Right. Yeah, that's like I said, that you can go back even further, and it's probably, even there may not be any 4, maybe even 3 stars, but like I said, that it's been really impressive, the job that from where they were when they took over, when Joker Phillips was fired, that first season was pretty, the 2013 season was pretty miserable here with them going, 2-10 and, a lot of bad losses. And, they've slowly built the program. They still had some bad losses, but, they've gotten over, it looks like they've gotten over that hump now. And so we'll see what happens with this class. I haven't heard of any other names right now other than Leonard that are actively, being recruited. But that's kind of the way it goes. Sometimes you don't hear anything, and then all of a sudden you see the tweet, get those dice ready, and then boom, there's another a new Wildcat. So.
All right. We always enjoy the Kentucky football discussion with Kevin McGuffey from Last Word on College Football. And again, please join him and the rest of the staff there. We got Tony Siracusa, Lauren Beasley, Jason Ray, a lot of good people there at Last Word on College Football covering the game we love each and every day, as we do here. So if you're coming across my content for the first time, or maybe you've just checked us out once or twice, please look over the videos. We believe we deliver just about the best discussion, debate, and analysis each and every day on college football. Kevin, we appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, thanks, Mark, for having me. I appreciate it. As always great to talk to you.